I never thought love could feel like a cage. Until the day I walked down the aisle in a dress worth more than most people's homes, smiling at the man who promised forever. My name is Sophia, and this is the story of how my husband married me for money. But I had already planned the perfect revenge. It started like a fairy tale. I was 28, running my late father's tech empire from our family estate just outside the city. People saw the luxury cars, the charity galas, the headlines. But behind the wealth, I was lonely. My father had passed 2 years earlier, leaving me everything. Friends came and went, but real connection? That felt impossible. Then came Daniel, charming, ambitious, with that easy smile that made you forget the world. We met at a charity event I hosted for underprivileged coders. He approached me not with flattery about my money, but with genuine questions about the programs we funded. He said his own dreams had been crushed by family debts. He listened when I spoke about missing my father. For months, he was perfect. Flowers on bad days, late-night talks making me feel seen. I fell hard. My mother warned me to slow down, but my heart was louder. 6 months later, he proposed on the balcony overlooking our rose garden. Tears in his eyes. "Sophia, I don't want your money. I just want you." I believed him. We married in a ceremony that trended for weeks. I poured everything into us, gifted him a luxury car, added his name to accounts, made him a director in one of our smaller firms. He called me his queen. I felt safe. But what I didn't know that day was that every kiss had been calculated. Every "I love you" was a step toward draining me dry. The first cracks appeared 6 months into our marriage. Daniel started coming home late, smelling of expensive whiskey that wasn't from our bar. He'd brush it off as networking. I ignored the gnawing feeling, because love makes you blind. Then came the whispers from my assistant, Lena. "Ma'am, some transfers look off. Mr. Daniel has been moving money to accounts I don't recognize." I told myself it was paranoia, until the night I found the second phone. I had come home early from a board meeting, excited to surprise him with tickets to the Maldives, our dream trip. The house was quiet except for his voice from the study. I froze outside the door. "Babe, just a few more months. She's loaded. Once I get full access to the trust, we'll disappear. You and me in Bali like we planned. Sophia, she's sweet but clueless. Married her for the money, obviously." My world shattered. The phone slipped from my hand. I stood there, heart pounding so loud I thought he'd hear it. He ended the call quickly, but it was too late. I slipped away before he saw me, tears burning my eyes as I drove aimlessly through the city. How could the man who held me through my father's death anniversary be the same one laughing about using me? The nights he whispered he loved my strength, were those lies too? I cried for hours in a hotel room that night, feeling broken, exposed, utterly destroyed. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound. I had given him my heart, my father's legacy, my future. But pain has a way of forging steel. In that dark hotel room, something shifted. I remembered my father's words. "Never let them see you bleed, Sophia. Make them regret the day they crossed you." I didn't confront him. Instead, I started planning. I hired a discreet private investigator the next morning. The truth that poured out was worse than I imagined. Daniel had a long-term girlfriend, Mia, living in a luxury apartment he paid for with my money. They had been together for years. He had debts from failed startups and gambling. Marrying me was his escape plan. He even had forged documents ready to challenge the prenup once he had enough leverage. Every "I love you" replayed in my mind like a knife. I stopped sleeping. I smiled through dinners while secretly recording conversations, copying files and moving my assets. I played the loving wife perfectly, kissing him good morning, laughing at his jokes, while inside I burned with quiet fury. Friends noticed I looked tired. I told them it was work stress. Daniel suspected nothing. He grew bolder, asking for bigger investments in his new venture. I let him think he was winning. The revenge unfolded on the night of our first anniversary gala. The ballroom glittered, with crystal and power players exactly the audience I needed. Daniel was in his element, charming investors, my arm linked in his like the perfect trophy wife. Midway through the evening, I stepped onto the stage for my surprise speech. The lights dimmed. Daniel beamed from the front table, expecting praise for his supportive husband role. I began softly, voice trembling just enough to seem emotional. "A year ago, I married the man I thought was my forever. But love sometimes blinds us." Then I played the recordings. His voice filled the room. "She's clueless." Married her for the money. You and me in Bali. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel's face drained of color. I continued, calm and strong now. While he planned to drain my father's legacy, I was one step ahead. Today, all his hidden accounts have been frozen. The authorities have evidence of embezzlement and fraud. And Mia? She's already been served notice to vacate the apartment bought with my funds. Security escorted him out as flashes went off. He tried to speak, but his words choked. The empire he thought he'd steal? It was never his. I had transferred controlling stakes weeks earlier, protected by ironclad trusts he never knew existed. By morning, his name trended for all the wrong reasons. Investigations launched. Mia left him. His so-called friends vanished. He showed up at the estate days later, broken and desperate, begging on his knees. Sophia, please. I made a mistake. I do love you. I looked at the man who once made my heart race and felt only pity. You married me for money, Daniel. But you forgot I built it. And people like you always underestimate women who've already lost everything once. I closed the door. No screaming, no drama, just quiet finality. In the months that followed, I rebuilt stronger. The company thrived. I funded new programs in my father's name. And I found peace, not in revenge alone, but in the freedom of knowing my worth isn't defined by who stays or leaves. If there's one thing I want you to remember from my story, it's this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. But more importantly, protect your heart without closing it forever. Betrayal breaks you open, but you decide what rises from the pieces. I rose, and I shine brighter than ever. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been betrayed, know you're not alone. Drop your experiences in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and never let them dim your light. This is Sophia, signing off with a heart that's finally free.